Hello and welcome to the Gold Newsletter. My name is Kai Hoffmann. I'm the @JR Mining Guy on Twitter. And together with Brien Lundin, I'm the host of the Gold Newsletter channel, and I'm really looking forward to a company introduction today. The company released one of its best holes ever drilled just last week, June 11th, and we reached out to the company and said, it's time to get you on the channel. We need to talk about the results, and let's get a bit more detail on what the results sort of mean. What's the business plan? What's the strategy? The company we're talking about is Group 11, Group 11 Resources, actually, and it's a zinc explorer in Ireland. And I'm joined here in a few short seconds by the president and CEO, Bart Jaworski, and I'm really looking forward to diving deeper into their recent discovery and into their recent discovery hole, into the project. Really looking forward to the discussion. Before I switch over to my guest, hit that like and subscribe button so we can bring companies like Group 11 back here on the channel. Now, without much further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome Bart. Bart, it is good to see you. Welcome on the program.
Thanks for having me on, Kai. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really looking forward to the discussion because your drill hole sort of caused a bit of a ruckus in our office, and we said, it's like, hey, we have to reach out to Bart. Let's dive a little deeper into the project, and let's see what is going on in Ireland. But Bart, before we talk about the drill results, of course, and the exploration program and all the details, let's start on a very high level. Give me a 60-second overview of Group 11, and we'll get granular after that.
We're basically a zinc explorer focused on Ireland. We're public on the TSXV venture, about 35 million market cap. Glencore is our largest shareholder. I myself am a geologist and ex-mining analyst. And after 7 years of trying, we have made a discovery, a significant discovery, one of the most significant, if not the most significant discoveries in Ireland in the last 10 years. And we've got a zinger of a drill hole here coming up here, 30 meters of 11% zinc and lead. And that's along a string of hits that we've had since over the last 18, 20 months. So we've been very successful. It's taken us 7 years, like I said, about 100 drill holes to get here, about $20 million to get here. But we're finally really starting to actually, make a discovery here, and we're very excited about what we're finding so far. The whole strike length is about 6 kilometers of prospectivity. So we're looking forward to sinking our teeth into this prospect even further over the next months and years.
Phenomenal. Yeah, you pushed the door wide open with that recent discovery there at Ballywinkle. I hope I said it properly. Was that correct?
Bwire, but close. I like that one.
I said Ballywinkle. Oh, it reminds me of a cartoon character. I apologize for that. I'm sure where the winkle came from. But Bart, like, and our viewers know that as well. My second question, always for these interviews, is to get us on the same level. Let's talk capital structure real quick. What does it look like? Who are your main shareholders? How much cash do you have?
Okay, like I said, 35 million market cap, roughly 200 million shares outstanding, basic 238 fully diluted, and Glencore is 18%. Michael Gentile, who some of your viewers I'm sure know, is 15% of the company. Tech has got a small sliver in there. The insiders have about 3.3% of the company as well. I myself haven't sold a single share since inception. Myself, David, and some of the other founders of the company are basically used to have 100% of the company, but as you let other people in the door, you get watered down, as you know, Kai. So that's basically the capital structure as it is. In terms of cash, you asked about that. $2.7 million as of the last reported quarter, in March 31st. No debt, obviously, or anything like that. And I think that's all the bases you answered. You had a question.
Fantastic. Yeah, you have a really good slide in your presentation as well that breaks down options and warrants. Which is interesting because it always helps me understand if there's any overhang on the stock or if there's anything that could, put a lid on things. So, side note, as a CEO, can you sell? Do you want to sell? Is there even a way to sell? Like, I think you're stuck with the deal until you exit properly, isn't it? Aren't you?
Well, look, I think the job of every CEO in the junior mining space, I think, is to sell eventually, and that's the ideal, golden future that we all strive towards. Sometimes you get into production, sometimes you change the composition of your board and team in order to gear towards production as well. I mean, there's obviously two ways to cut it, but we do have a large shareholder here with Glencore. We're unique in that Glencore is our next door neighbor on the ground, and so that's what makes us different, I guess. They've got a large deposit right next door to us, only a few hundred meters over from our Stone Park deposit. And I think they're very keen. They like Ireland. They've been here for a number of years. They're active on their Palace-Green deposit. It's a 45 million ton deposit, which is really big. And it's 8.4%, a very decent grade indeed. And I think we can sweeten the pie here overall within the district, or within the sort of like within trucking distance of 20, 30 kilometers. So it doesn't make sense one day to unitize this area. I guess time will tell. But we certainly have a deposit in hand right now. We have a brand new discovery outside of that. And then we have a killer prospect called Carrickettle West as well that we're going to be drilling later this year, which I hope is going to be another discovery in the not too distant future. But again, we have to start the drill rigs and test that theory first. But I think we got a lot of good things going for us here.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk quickly about a couple of your shareholders. I'm curious, like Tech 1.7%, only a very small piece of the pie here. Why are they still why are they shareholders? What's their motivation? Like, what's the history of that relationship there?
Yeah, that's a legacy stake. We bought Tech's assets in Ireland back in 2017, and partial payment for that was in shares. They own something like 3.3 million shares, and they've been owners since 2017. So that's how they got in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but they've been diluted down since, I'm guessing, or they...
Yeah, in terms of percentage. Yeah, in terms of percentage, they're diluted down. But yeah, they have those 3.3 million shares since the get-go. Yeah.
No, fantastic. And Clancor, I think, is the next one we need to talk about. Really interesting relationship there. You brought up that they're your neighbors at Palace Green. Let's run through Palace Green maybe for a second. Give us a bit of an overview, Bart, because not everybody's familiar with that asset. But what's the run rate? What's the mill capacity? Just give us a bit of an overview. Like, what is the picture? Or paint us a picture of the region there.
Yeah, are we looking at slides right now, or can I show you where it is?
We can if you want to. Yeah.
It depends what. Yeah. So we got the slides here. It's greenfields. It's not a mine. It's a prospect with a large resource and pretty decent grade, like I said. But it's a discovery that was made a number of years ago now, and Glencore's been working on it. They acquired it from Xstrata back in 2012, and they've been working on it since. And then since that time, they've invested in us next door to them, and they added a director to our board. But basically, to put you on the map. Let's start off there. This is Ireland, and this is basically the Irish ore field here. All these green stripes are the main mineralizing trends. And some of the largest zinc deposits are here, as for example, Tara. So I like to say it's the land of giants for zinc deposits in the world. This is a 140 million ton deposit at about 10% zinc lead. Absolutely behemoth. Global average grades right now for mine zinc are about 5 to 6%. So you're talking pretty rich jurisdiction overall. We're in this neck of the woods here in this yellow box. If I zoom in on that yellow box, which can I do that? I guess I do that here. Do I? Is that flipping?
There you go. Yeah.
There we go. So basically, if I get into that box, you get this picture, and basically Glencore and South 32 are on either side of us. So we have nice neighbors for sure. We have our central ground here, which we own 76% of. That's the Stone Park joint venture, and that hosts the Stone Park deposit, which is sitting right next door to Glencore's Palace Green deposit. And that's a nice, rich, albeit small deposit, 5 million tons, but 11.3% zinc and lead altogether, and relatively shallow. Versus Glencore, which is on the deeper side, sort of between 500 and 1,100 meters deep. So that's quite a strategic asset for us. And then basically the Bwire discovery, which is yellow, the yellow box here that I've highlighted, it sits on our 100% owned PG West property. And also it sits at the intersection of two mineralizing trends, the Palace Green corridor and the Rathdowney trend. And if I zoom in on that yellow box now, you basically get this picture. And this is where it gets interesting. So Kai, stop me if you want, but I rattle off how the evolution of the discovery and
no, like I'd love to learn more about that. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Okay, so look, it's a pretty interesting story because in 1997 there was a previous operator here, and they did almost discover this. They hit 2.5 meters of 6%. They didn't assay for silver, but now we know there's a lot of silver here. They kind of lost the track and they kind of got out of it. 2000 they hit another hole, splashy copper silver numbers, but over centimeters, not meters. Then they did one last hurrah in 2008. They drilled a nice hole here, but it wasn't quite as good. It wasn't a home run hole. It was a very decent hole, but not a home run hole. Definitely not enough to offset the great financial crisis. And they basically got wiped out. They went back to Australia. And this ground position became open for many, many years. We came on actually 2016 when we were staking ground around here. We did 3 years of homework, and we drilled our first hole, which came so close to a discovery hole, but not quite. It was 2 meters of 6% with 22 grams of silver roughly. So we did a bit more homework, decided to go up here and drill this hole. And this is the first snippet of of robust mineralization, let's just say 3.5 meters roughly of 12% with 48 grams, with a really nice slug in there in the middle, half a meter roughly of 25% massive sulfide and 92 grams. So that was very good. And this is where it gets interesting. So then we step out 400 meters in all directions. We got okay mineral, better, and then bang. This is where we got our discovery hole. We announced that September of 22, 10 meters of roughly 10 meters of 10% zinc and lead and 100 grams silver. And within that, Kai, was 2 meters of 41% and nearly 400 grams per ton. Super grade, super intercept. And at that stage, we were happy to call this a discovery. And it's basically all uphill from there in terms of the hits that we've got. So we started drilling all through here. Every single hole hit massive sulfides. The standout for that was another 10 meters of 9% with some really decent silver in it. We stepped out again, got one of the best holes ever, 18 meters of 10% zinc and lead. Not 100 grams silver, but now 250 grams silver with copper seeping in. Then we had this November news release where the share price really went up on the back of this. We had 5 holes, all mineralized, 180 meter step outs. 4 of the 5 holes were very robust. Like we're talking between 3 and 10 meters of really high grades, 10 to 15% grades, all high silver numbers. And then basically that got up to, if I zoom in a little bit more to our April news release, this is where we really start to swing for the fences and we decide, okay, look, we have 700 meters of strike. We have these gravity anomalies here, which I'm showing in gray. We have this very linear massive sulfide trend. So let's just step out 500 and 900 meters over, Kai. Not 50 and 90 meters, but 500 and 900 meters of step out to test these gravity anomalies. And guess what? All those four holes hit mineralization. And the standout was this guy here, which got up to 1,400 grams per ton silver, up to 3% copper. Overall, we got 4 meters of 300 grams and 0.7 copper. That's a really solid intersection. And now we can say we have 2.6 kilometers of strike length in terms of drill intercepts over 2.6 kilometers. And that kind of leads us to our June 11th news release just last week, where we basically had this picture before and this picture after. So we decided to do a drill hole here, 180 meter step out from the last, densely drilled area in here. And lo and behold, we got the best hole ever. So by far, 30 meters of 11% zinc and lead and 78 grams per ton silver, as well as a little bit of copper in there as well. So just a really, really phenomenal hole. And what we're hoping, Kai, here is that maybe it's the start of a really wide blossoming zone perhaps here, because here we're getting between, call it, on average, maybe 5 to 10 meters of thickness. Here, all of a sudden, we're getting up to 30. And then we have this gangbuster over here, 380 meters away. If you can see my cursor's hole 7 with that 1,400 grams per ton silver. So is that on the just an outside edge? Because that seems to suggest a feeder system. Anytime we get copper silver numbers like that, we're on a feeder. And just to the north of that, we seem to be getting into the massive sulfide. So the hope is that if we drill to the north of that, we might get another nice intersection of massive sulfide. Time will tell. We don't know. We haven't started drilling that hole yet, but certainly we're hoping for a nice wider zone of mineral. And you know what? Of course, if you get 30 meters, Kai, you're really starting to rack up tonnage potential there very quickly.
Yeah. No, fantastic. Really good overview of the evolution of the project, but maybe summarize it for us. Like how many holes, how many meters have you drilled so far, Bart?
We have 29 holes in it already, and that's basically since the discovery hole, September of 2022. So it's only 18 months old, roughly 20 months old, this discovery, 29 holes into it. And we have strike, call it strike of 2.6 kilometers roughly.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, run me a bit through the targeting as well. And I think maybe that's what this slide alludes to a little bit as well. Is sort of, how are you chasing it? How are you finding it?
I think
finding your drill targets.
Yeah, the real step change in that June 11th press release where we got the 30 meters is basically to demonstrate that Bwire has the potential that Lachine had. Because I think if you look at Lachine now, this is a bird's eye view looking down a machine. Look at Lachine, which is the next deposit over along the trend here in Ireland. It was a very profitable mine, 22 million tons of 14% zinc and lead. But what you see there is that mineralization, this is basically looking at the thickness of the massive sulfide. So the magenta colors are basically 10 meters and thicker, and the blue colors are 3 meters and under in terms of massive sulfide accumulation. So what we're basically seeing with that June release that we just had is that Bwire is capable of producing sort of greater than 10 meters of massive sulfide intercepts. And so all of a sudden we're getting into the magentas. Whereas I think before this drill hole, we were kind of in the reds and the yellows, and that all of a sudden starts to really tell us, okay, we are into a big system here with that type of intercept. And I think a lot of people are watching this from the side, and I think that hole should tell people, especially more the geologically oriented people, that to create that kind of intercept, you need a big system. The environment needs to be there to be able to have that kind of intercept. So hopefully we have something akin to Lachine is what we're hoping. That's obviously what we're hoping. And these things tend to, this is like one blanket of mineralization, and along it there's thickening parts of the blanket and thinner parts of the blanket. So what we're hoping is we're going to find a few of these, and that's really the name of the game for us, is to find a number of these zones. Right now, obviously we have a nice piece of the blanket, if you will. Hopefully it's getting thicker, and probably there's a few more to find, because if you really zoom out here, to the aerial gravity anomalies. This is basically looking out, and we have 6 kilometers of trend here all along the Walsroshian limestone, and we have 4 of these gravity anomalies. We've only really started doing work here on the C anomaly, and everything I've just told you about is along the C anomaly. We're just starting to get into the B anomaly in terms of our drilling, and we haven't even touched anomaly A or D, and that's a long strike. So the thickness, the depths here are still going to be around 350 meters roughly, between 300 and 400 meters. I mean, you're probably going to ask me what the depth of this is.
That was
and
my
it's
next
relatively
question.
shallow. Yeah. So it's only about 300 to 400 meters, and we're chasing it up dip to the north. So it's dipping to the north. Sorry, dipping to the south, getting shallower to the north. And so we're actually, as we chase it to the north, we're getting shallower and shallower. That means quicker turnaround times and lower cost per drill hole.
What does the current drill program look like, or the exploration program? Sort of also, how are you being led by the recent results, like in terms of targeting? Like, how are you positioning your drilling or your drills right now?
Yeah, so I mean, right now, what we have to go on is these gravity anomalies, and the most important thing is the previous drill hole. So as we drill, we reiterate everything that we know and figure out where the next best place to drill is. So it's very iterative, and clearly we're very intrigued by the C anomaly, so we want to continue drilling there, but we're also we want to see what the B anomaly is, and then eventually we'll get around to A and D. But certainly we're just guided by the geological picture as it's coming into more focus, as we're getting more data points along it. And I think that's basically has served us very well so far, and hopefully will continue to.
Now, how many holes do you have planned right now in this current program?
Well, look, we typically drill between 5 and 7,000 meters of drilling. Hopefully this year we'll be on the upper end of that. I think we're on track for that, and we haven't put out specifics because, again, like I said, it's iterative. We are also planning on doing some drilling at Stone Park. So just to the north of this area is our Stone Park property, as I said at the very top, and we have a very interesting target there because it's a doppelganger to a potential doppelganger, a potential mirror image to Glencore's Palace Green deposit. So we think we have something akin. We have all the ingredients there: alteration, faulting, and the geology, most importantly. And so we're going to be dedicating some of that meterage to Kirkcudbright West as well. So it's going to be a little bit of a moving feast.
Well, we're always greedy as shareholders and retail investors as well. You put out results about, what is it now? Exactly 14 days ago. When can we expect the next set of results? Like, do you have anything else in the pipeline there?
Yeah, I think what we're working on is an update on Kirkcudbright West on the Stone Park project. So we'll have that in the not too distant future, I'm hoping, and then follow it up then with more drilling results out of Bwire. So those will be the two news releases in the foreseeable future. And then as we drill, we'll have more news. But obviously, I tried to put out news release every 6 weeks, ideally, because we are drilling with 2 rigs right now, Kai. We're kind of drinking from a higher fire hose a little bit because we have more than double the average, the normal sort of run rate in terms of meterage coming at us that we have to log, split, etc., send to the lab and everything else. So 6 weeks is my ideal spacing. It'd be quicker if I could, but obviously that's the realistic spacing.
No, fantastic. No, that's fantastic. Like, what's the turnaround time these days? Like, and how does it work with labs in Ireland? Like, we're not all too familiar with Ireland, of course, and exploration in Ireland.
We have
sending your samples.
Yeah, we're set. We have a lab, first class lab ALS in Ireland, and it actually services all of Europe. So we're very lucky. It's just on our doorstep. So it's only about a 45-minute drive or something to get to it from our drilling area. So turnaround times typically 2 to 3 weeks, depending. And obviously, if we rush, it's a little bit quicker, but it's a little bit more pricey.
Well, you can drive it to the doorstep, so.
Yeah, and then look, there's drill costs here are very inexpensive because we don't have any helicopters, of course. We don't need helicopters. We're not building cribbing on the side of a mountain. We're not hanging off the side of a cliff. We're not building roads and everything like that. So, relatively speaking, we have very reasonable drill costs here, thankfully. No. And we can drill year round.
Yeah, which good point actually. Yeah, it might get a little wet during the fall and winter, but other than that,
typically maybe if there's a big lashing of rain here, then we might get stalled by a week or so. But typically it's year round exploration.
Run me a bit through the business plan there, Bart. Like, what's the plan here for Group 11? It's like, and then I'm referring to key milestones also, like resource, when you start feeling confident putting one around it, if at all? Like, run me a bit through the thinking and strategy there.
Well, right now we have two resources in hand, the Stone Park and the Ballonalack resources. Those are roughly 5 million ton deposit, 9 to 11%, roughly speaking. On Bwire, I think we're a little too early to be talking about a resource just yet, but we're clearly heading in the right direction. But I think there's at least another 12 months of drilling to go before we start contemplating any type of resource. I would hazard a guess maybe longer than 12 months before we really start to hire engineers to be doing the geostats. The one good thing, Kai, is that the discovery so far is very well behaved. And by that, I mean very predictable and occurs all at the same horizon, all at the base of the Wall-Sortian limestone. It doesn't seem to be folded or faulted up in some deposits you can see all over the place. Here, it's a very well-behaved, undisturbed zone of mineralization, all at the base of Wall-Sortian limestone, very predictable. So every time we drill, we're getting some kind of mineral right at the same horizon, which means basically the engineers are going to love that because the geostatistics is nice and simple. The variability isn't as great, so you can make it bigger extrapolations. So hopefully we don't have to drill as much as maybe some deposits would require in order to get to our initial, inferred resource. So that's a really good thing. But in terms of when we actually pull the pin on that, put the pin into it, I'm not quite sure, but at least another 12 months.
Okay, no, fair enough. I'm just curious, like, to learn where your head is at in terms of, like, are we even going to put out a resource, or are we going to drill this thing out?
Oh, we will. Yeah. Eventually, when the time is right. But we still have. We're I think, there's a lot more drilling that needs to happen. For example, these 500 meter step outs, 900 meter step outs, you have to have at least minimum 100 meter step spacings between fences. I think to string those together into a resource. I don't think anyone would allow you having more than that, maybe 120 meters, some depending. But certainly with 500 meters, we have to do some other fences in between. So
now it's like Great Bear sort of ruined it for everybody because they didn't put out a resource, and now everybody's getting asked that question, right? And like what the strategy is. Some companies tried to adopt it, but not all investors follow that logic. So I was curious where your head is at. And
I mean, I would be a fan of just we have to figure out where the edges are. We have to see where are we getting out of it. Okay, here's the edge, and then where's the hot spots? We certainly maybe are within a hotspot right now. We tagged into that 30 meter zone. That could be a hotspot. We have to figure out how big, how extensive is that hotspot. Is there any more? Are there any more hotspots? Once we figure that out, then I think at that stage, once the big mystery of it is in terms of the basic geometry is fixed, then I think it will be time for the mineral resource estimate.
Gotcha. Bart, I have one more topic on my list I need to talk to you about is the Clancor involvement. Yes, you touched on it, that there's strong neighbors there, but you also have a director on the board. So I'm curious, like, how strong is their involvement? Do you have a technical committee? What does the relationship look like there?
Yeah, we meet with them. Yeah, we have a director on our board, Ken Klassen. He's a mining M&A lawyer based out of Toronto. He's been there for 4 years now. We have technical meetings with Glencore regularly. Usually it's a very helpful discussion. Basically, we basically tell them everything we're doing. They give us tips on maybe drill spacings or what type of alteration to follow, whether or not to do downhole geophysics, what works, what doesn't, at what depths does downhole geophysics work, and what type of geophysics. Those types of technical things. It's very helpful to have a partner that's drilled a lot of meters just to the north of you. So that's very much the case, and those are regular and ongoing, have been since 2019, and they continue to be so. So I guess I don't know if that answers it, but obviously there's a lot of synergies here, and I think with Ireland, it is known to have to produce clean concentrates, and I think that's the allure. That's why the majors are here. Glencore, Teck, South 32, Boliden, that the allure is that you have clean concentrates. Typically, the mineralogy in Ireland is just a galena, sphalerite, bit of pyrite. Very easy to liberate, not a lot of nasties, which gets you a nice clean concentrate, which then you can use to maybe clean up some of the dirtier cons from elsewhere in the world, and that's what makes it a premium product. And I think that's the allure of it. Plus, obviously, these Mississippi Valley type deposits or Irish type deposits tend to be sizable and high grade. So the prize is definitely worthy of their attention.
You opened the door to metallurgy there, Bart. What type of test work have you done at your project so far?
Well, not yet, because the discovery is only 18 months old, and we're really trying to figure out. But the good thing is there's no oxides. I think there would be, and again, typically in Ireland, metallurgy is not an issue. It tends to have a very, very high recovery rates. the grain size isn't fine. Like sometimes in SEDEX deposits, which you don't have in Ireland, SEDEX deposits elsewhere in the world tend to have sliming issues. VMSs, again, which we don't have. VMSs tend to have deleterious metals in them, which could be an issue. So we don't tend to have those problems in Ireland. And again, what we're seeing at Bwire is pretty much the same as all the other Irish style zinc deposits in terms of galena, sphalerite. And most importantly, it's not oxidized. So if it was oxidized, all of a sudden you're getting into dangerous territory in terms of your potential recoveries. And we certainly aren't getting any oxidation within Bwire or Stone Park or Ballinallack. So those are all these sort of red flags, which we thankfully do not have.
Gotcha. You mentioned you have resources on 2 of your smaller projects, but you haven't done any met testing there either, right? Just to clarify.
No, there's been historic met testing at Ballinallack because there was a feasibility done in 1991 at Ballinallack. So again, the metallurgy recoveries were good. You know, they were I can't remember exactly, but they were in the high 80s, low 90s type of range. So again, no issues.
Gotcha. Bart, I think that's a really comprehensive first overview. Of course, we're going to be following up with you on a regular basis here, more often here on the Gold Newsletter channel. One thing we haven't talked about, and one thing I personally really like, is that you're based in Ireland. Is that right? You're in
great.
Ireland.
Thanks. Yeah, and I am based in Ireland. Yeah, I've been here for 13 years. Yeah.
So curious, like, what prompted the move? What brought you out to Ireland? Just curious, because I like it when a CEO is close to the project and not sitting, in a comfy chair in Vancouver and Toronto when the project is halfway around the world.
You know, I have to agree with you. There's nothing like going over to, having a 2.5-hour drive to get to the drill rig, which is basically my situation here. So it's great to go back and forth, meet with the team, be on the same time zone as a team really, really helps. And obviously post-COVID, it's great to be able to do these, calls online and everything and share screens and like that. So it's all part and parcel. But what got me here initially is I was an analyst at Raymond James. My wife is Irish and she wanted to move home for family reasons. So I said I would, as long as I could find a comparable job. And so I was able to, Davey was good enough to give me a job here as a mining analyst. I was covering Rio Tinto and the gold space here for a number of years at Davey, which is the largest shop in Ireland. But then after about 3.5 years, I thought, there's a really good potential lifetime opportunity here to start up a zinc company in this Irish ore field, which is prolific. And I kind of knew that kind of going in, that there is this kind of really, really interesting ore field in Ireland that we could, wouldn't it be nice to explore that one day? So we got to, the time came, I think it made sense to do that. And then I teamed up with some of the geologists, two other Irish geologists that were associated with another prior Rathdowney Resources, actually, a Hunter Dickinson company that were here. So I teamed up. I basically knocked on their door and said, "Guys, do you want to start this zinc company?" And they said, "Absolutely." They were already thinking along the same lines, and it was a perfect fit. And we started the company then from scratch. So that's the short story of how it all happened.
No, fantastic. I love a bit of background of that and how things happen like that. So I really appreciate that. And Bart, maybe just to put a bow around it, I know I've asked you earlier, but upcoming catalysts for the company, just to sum it all up for us.
Yeah, so expect, again, an update on Carrickuttle West, which is our Stone Park property, in the not too distant future. And then after that, we'll have drill results from Bwire, as it comes here, but it shouldn't be too long of a wait. Again, I'm hoping in the next few weeks here, the next batch of drill results. And then after that, I suppose it'll be more of the same in terms of more drill results from Bwire and more drill results as they come from the Stone Park property all through the year. We're going to be drilling all year long. It's all funded. So it should be an exciting year for us.
Phenomenal. Bart, really appreciate you coming on, and thanks for making the time and running us through the story here of Group 11. So really appreciate it. Things sinks.
Super. Thanks so much, Kai. Really appreciate it, and look forward to hopefully seeing you maybe in New Orleans later this year. I'll be there. Oh, no. Okay.
No,
well,
sadly, no.
Okay.
I'll be at Rig Rules Conference. I'll be at the Precious Metal Summit. I'll be at a couple other things. But sadly, because Brien moved his conference, sadly, I won't be able to make it this year.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to a great conference in New Orleans. I was there.
It'll be fantastic. Before. No, you'll have a good time. I'm actually bummed I can't make it this time. So
it should be great.
It'll be good.
Anniversary as well. Yeah,
exactly. So everybody else, I just thank Bart. So really appreciate you tuning in as well. I hope this was informative. Like, this was a company introduction. Of course, we didn't get too granular on the geology. We'll do that in the next run around, where we'll dive a bit deeper into the target horizons. What do the rocks look like, and what do the future drilling programs look like in detail as well. I hope this this was really helpful. If it was, please leave a comment, leave a like, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Let us know, did we ask the right question? What should we ask next time? And to really appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back with lots more here on the Gold Newsletter channel. We'll be back, actually, I'll be at the Rick Rule Conference. We'll be taping a lot of interviews there, so keep an eye out and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell icon as well. So thank you so much. We'll be back with lots more.